Hi, so for my project, I'm interested in generating images from text. So I've started out with a paper by Reed and co-authors from 2016 that uses a generalized adversarial network architecture to generate images of flowers based on captions for those flowers. The way I want to extend this is to use the Yelp data set of Yelp reviews and user submitted images to see if I can similarly generate some pictures of food based on user submitted captions. Obviously there's going to be a lot more noise in this data, and this is a much harder task, so my results aren't going to be as exciting as in the original paper, but it does show some promise. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to walk through the general network architecture, talk about the data set, and show you some results. So the original paper from Reed and co-authors that's been adapted by Elnubi 2018, who's made code available online, which I used as a starting place, has a GAN architecture. So there is a generator network that takes as inputs a caption that is turned into a vector through word2vec, and as well as some noise, and it concatenates those together, and then through a series of convolutional layers generates an image. And the code for this network is right here. It's actually a pretty it's a relatively straightforward and simple convolutional neural network. It's got 5 hidden layers, and it's basically a series of convolutions as well as upsampling layers. And so that generator network then produces an image. The discriminator network takes as an input an image and some text to go along with that image, and then tries to decide whether or not that text is a description of what is happening in that image. So the code for that network looks like this. It's also like a relatively simple convolutional neural network that takes these two inputs, puts them through a series of convolutions, and gives a output of a binary prediction of one if the caption correctly describes what's happening in the picture, and 0 if not. The way I go about training this this network is through randomly sampling images and text from a data set, and then also sampling mismatched text to go with each image. Then for each image, the generator takes the correct text and tries to produce a new image. Then the discriminator makes 3 different predictions. First, they take the true image and the true text, try to predict whether or not that is a real pair. They take the fake image and the true text and try to predict whether that is a real pair. And they take the true image and some mismatched sampled text and try to predict whether that is a true pair. And so their loss function is going to be a function of their objective function is a function of how many correct answers they get, and the objective function for the generator then is whether or not the fake image can fool the discriminator. And so here is what the training code looks like, and let's get into the dataset and results. So the Yelp dataset has 200,000 photos that are publicly available. Each photo can be linked to a restaurant and a review, as well as a bunch of different characteristics. To do an exercise like this with all of these photos seems very complicated because some of these photos are of food, some are of exteriors of the building, they can be of anything. Instead, I sort of simplified the task by filtering it down to just Mexican food, just pictures of food at restaurants that were in the Mexican restaurant category, and I could only use photos that had some text associated with them. So I have about 4,800 labeled images, and that allows me to train my GAN with that, so it's not a huge data set. Um, and when I train my GAN, I initially get images produced that sort of look like nothing, and I produce images for 8 different prompts, delicious torta to fish taco to guacamole and chips. However, once I train it for 35 epochs, I get things that are starting to look like roughly like Mexican food. They have the basic sort of structure of a picture of a dish. They have the colors that are prominent and textures that are prominent in Mexican food. They don't, however, really look like food yet. I haven't been able to get enough resources on Quest to train this for longer, but I think this is a promising sort of first step in generating images of food from mere descriptions of them, and I think it's an exciting project.